we ready for the live stream?
Yeah, just a few seconds and.
Okay. Okay. So Vijay.
Yeah, I have messaged her and so
Okay, she's joining in. Okay. So in the meantime, I'll just introduce you to my team, ma'am. So Bhishma.
Yes. So
so Vijay.
Yeah,
You're live.
Yes, we are live.
Okay, she's joining in. Okay. So in the meantime, I'll just introduce you to my. All right. So Dina, can you do the introduction?
Hi everyone. So and even to the people who are watching on our live streaming, we at doing this session in collaboration with SIMSA, CORAGE, and Pride. So SIMSA is South Indian Medical Students Association, and CORAGE is the Council of Reproductive Health and Gender Sexual Education. And Be With Pride, or BWP, is an organization which is doing commendable job. It started first with menstrual hygiene, and now it is expanding its work to the sexual health and reproductive rights area. And we are very proud to say that on today's occasion, that is happy on Teachers' Day, we are celebrating it in such an amazing way. We're commemorating the celebration in such an amazing way with Mrs. SUNEETHA KUNCHALA, who is the first additional Metropolitan Sessions judge. And she's also a special judge for trial cases of the POCSO Act in the Metropolitan Criminal Courts in Hyderabad. So it's amazing, ma'am, that you're here and we get to know about such an important thing like POCSO, and this knowledge about it to us and the general public is very limited. So I will give the floor to Vishnu, who's the founder of BWP, and our chairperson for CORAGE, to take the floor.
Thank you.
Thank you for the wonderful introduction, Dina. And again, from my side, wish you a very warm welcome, ma'am. And since you're going to teach us so many new things today, you're going to inform us a lot more new things that we are not yet aware of. Wish you a very happy Teachers' Day, and welcome you again, ma'am. So, so I'll start with a first question for today, ma'am. So what is POCSO Act, ma'am?
Yep, this POCSO Act, the full form of the POCSO Act is the Protection of Children from Sexual Offences. This act came into force on 14th November 2012. The backdrop of this act is we all know that every day more than 100 children are being sexually assaulted. And that means 4 to 5 children are being sexually assaulted per every hour. So the number of cases of sexual assault or sexual abuse against children is rising enormously, and the alarming rise is there in the said cases. And it is our responsibility to protect the child who is sexually abused. And where there are number of cases increasing day by day and hour to hour, we have to render speedy justice to those victims. That's why this special act was enacted to protect the child victims and to render speedy justice to those victims. This act was specifically formulated to deal with offences including sexual abuse and pornography also. And this act increases the scope of reporting offences against children which were not covered under Indian Penal Code. Indian Penal Code deals with all general offences, and there, irrespective of age, the cases of all victims will be dealt. But when it comes to POCSO Act, this act is this act deals the cases of only minor child. The act defines who is a child and the offences of sexual assault, sexual harassment, and pornography. And there are certain provisions in this act to safeguard the interest and well-being of the child. And the aim of the act is to protect, give protection to the child at every stage of judicial process. So this is the backdrop of the POCSO Act. So this act was brought into force to help the victims and to render a speedy justice to the child victims.
That's a new point for us, ma'am. And ma'am, can you tell us about few special provisions under this act which addresses its objectives?
Yeah, this act has many special provisions. Unlike Indian Penal Code, this act was enacted to safeguard the child victims. So when an offence is committed, a sexual assault is committed on a child, the first thing which the act mandates is non-disclosure of the details of the child, and even the name or the details of other details of the child, which tends to disclose her identity, like name of the school, name of the college, or the area where she lives, or her photograph, and nothing should be disclosed. And if the publication of any of such detail or name by any print and media is a punishable offence under this act.
Oh.
So it safeguards the child being exposed to the society, because as you know, in our society, where a sexual assault is committed on a child, then we treat it as a stigma.
Yes, ma'am.
Generally, parents should not come forward to lodge any complaint, because they think it is some kind of social stigma. So in order to avoid such things, this provision was brought by the act, in this act. So first thing is non-disclosure of the identity of the child. And after, if any offence is committed on the child and a case is registered, the statement of the victim has to be recorded. If the child is a girl, her statement has to be recorded preferably by a woman police officer.
Okay.
And the statement also has to be recorded at the place where the victim child feels comfortable.
Okay.
It's not
So
like
it does
that.
not need to be in a police station.
Yeah, it's not not, if not possible to record her statement in police station, or the victim child feels uncomfortable
Intimidated.
or something
Right.
like
Yes.
that, and she wants to get her statement recorded at her house or at some other place where she feels comfortable, and then her statement has to be recorded at that place only. And while
Okay.
recording the statements of a child, police should not be in uniform,
Oh. So
because
that would make it more comfortable.
uniform itself creates some kind of fear in children. Generally,
Yes.
we
Yes.
say, if children does not listen to parents, they will say police patista.
Yes,
It's
ma'am.
general usage in
So there's
where,
a inbuilt fear in them, and which
so they feel that they fear, that fear will be there in children.
yes, yes,
So looking at police in uniform, they may not open up. They may
yes,
not come up with their grief or something. Whatever they want to take, they may not come forward.
yes, ma'am.
So while recording the statements, a police should not be in uniform. That is one good aspect while recording. And coming to the definition of child, who is a child? In the act is gender neutral.
Okay, ma'am.
That means sexual crimes committed against children will be dealt with by this act regardless the gender of child.
Okay, that's a wonderful thing, ma'am.
So any person who is aged below 18 years is termed as child under this POCSO Act.
This particular act. Okay.
So it may be a boy or it may be a girl.
Okay.
So any person. So that is these are some important provisions under this act, which provides safety to the victims.
Yes, ma'am.
And even if a child is mentally incapable, or if she is unable to give her treatment, then the expert help can be taken
To record the statement.
to record
Okay.
her statements.
Okay. Okay, ma'am. So, ma'am,
These are the important special provisions.
So, So, ma'am, how is it structured in the court, ma'am? So, I hear that POCSO court has a very interesting structure, which is a victim friendly. So, can you tell us something about it?
Yeah, the Act also prescribes special courts to deal with the trials for the offences under POCSO Act. These special courts have can adopt some special procedures also. When it comes to the trial, and when the victim child comes to the court to give her as his evidence, the first precaution that will be taken is the victim girl, the child should not be exposed to the accused at the time of recording evidence.
Oh,
Every care
okay.
will be taken. The accused will not see the victim girl.
Mhm.
Both will present in the court hall only. This is done by um, arranging curtains or one-way mirrors, or if there is any possibility, we can arrange separate room for accused also,
Okay.
so that accused can see the court proceedings and he can hear the voice of the victim, because he has the right to hear what the victim is deposing. So that arrangement will be done. But at any point of time, the victim girl will not come into the access of the accused. If victim child uh, is not ready to come to the court hall, then her evidence can be recorded through video linkage also.
Oh,
So a victim child not necessarily come to the court hall.
okay. So this can be even done on a
Even
internet-based situation too.
yes,
That's a
through
wonderful
video
provision,
linkage
ma'am.
also, her evidence can be recorded. Then again, yeah, when it comes to cross-examination, the defense counsel has to put all his questions to presiding officer only.
Ma'am, can you
He
please
should
explain
not
us what is cross-examination?
the evidence of victim girl initially will be chief examination. She deposes what happened to her,
Okay.
who is the perpetrator, and the sequence of the act. So everything she deposes. The defense counsel, he asks the questions in order to elicit some contradictions, or he has to elicit the truth from the
Okay.
child.
Okay.
So testing her testimony, whether
Mm-hmm.
she is whether the child is speaking truth or not.
Okay.
I'm in that situation. The defense counsel is not allowed to question the victim child directly. Whatever question he want to ask the victim child, he has to put the question before the presiding officer, and presiding officer will ask the child all those questions,
Okay.
and her answers will be recorded.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So that is one good provision, and
Mm-hmm.
no aggressive behavior will be allowed.
Okay.
So that is one important aspect while recording the evidence of victim girls. And the
Mm-hmm.
child-friendly courts are created in such a manner that the victim child should not feel that the child has come to a strange place, some new place, which is very new to him. He should not feel like that. That's why a victim-friendly atmosphere is created in the child-friendly groups. A separate victim rooms are being arranged wherever it is possible, and playthings, books, drawing books, color pencils, story books, such toys are being arranged in the victim rooms, so that while they were waiting in the waiting rooms, they may play with those
They have a
toys,
recreation
and
because
they
kids
will feel
get
free.
tend to get bored easily.
Yes,
Okay.
uh, they will feel free, and they may not think that they came to some new place.
Mm-hmm.
So that arrangements are being done. And while recording the statement evidence of the victims, our High Court, Honorable High Court of Telangana, has gave exemption to record the evidence of victims without wearing robe,
Okay.
because seeing the presiding officer or public prosecutor or the defense counsel in uniform, they may feel some discomfort, or they may not come forward to depose their evidence. And when we appear before them without a coat, gown, and everything, they may feel that we are also common people like their parents, our family members, or the known persons. So we talk to them like a friend, and gradually we ask them what happened to them. So that in that way they will feel more free to express their grief. That is one good thing. In the recent past, we got that exemption from wearing robe. So children will feel definitely more comfortable.
Okay.
So
So
child-friendly courts are taking every care and caution to safeguard the victim girl right from she stepped into the court premises.
okay. So we do have a very interesting approach here. We have victim-friendly courts, and I find a very good similarity between the cross-examination and the chief complaints what we take in clinical history, ma'am. So as doctors or medical students, we are supposed to take history in which the questions are open-ended, and it is what exact words of a patient are recorded, and which is the same thing happening in legal system also. And again, in the second, we'll have a legal, we'll have like open-ended, we'll have leading questions which help us identify the disease. And here, advocates also have the leading questions which help them move over and point out like towards the situation and help them better their examination. And so that's something very, very interesting for us to know. And so, ma'am, how long have you been working with POCSO courts?
Since 2013, I have been working as special judge for trial of cases under POCSO Act.
So past 7 years, ma'am.
Yeah,
That's quite a long time. You must have been
that's been 7 years.
lot experienced in this field.
A little bit.
Yes, ma'am. So, ma'am, what are the types of offences that are covered?
One more thing is,
Yes, ma'am.
one more thing I want to add: the evidence of
Yes,
child.
yes.
If it is also not necessarily be recorded in the court. If court is comes to an opinion that the evidence of the child cannot be recorded in the court, and the court can issue a commission to record the evidence of the child at her place.
Okay. So, ma'am, what is the qualification of this commissioner? Like, they're advocates or they're judges? Or...
Yeah. Yes.
So they're advocates, ma'am?
Advocates only.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
Yes.
So, ma'am, what are the types of offences that are covered under the POCSO Act, ma'am? And how are they punished when they're found guilty under this act?
Basically, this cases of sexual abuse can be divided into two forms, Vishnu.
Okay,
one is a physical contact, and the second one is non-physical contact. So the offences which falls under physical contact is penetrative sexual assault, fondling with the child's genitals, touching the genital parts of the child, or applying mouth to the genital parts and private parts of the child, and forcing the child to do the same with the offender or to any other person.
Okay.
So all these offences fall under sexual physical contact offences. And there are a few other offences which do not involve any physical contact, like uttering words, lewd gestures, making sounds so that the victim child should hear those sounds to see those gestures, and showing pornographic pictures or videos to the victim child, verbal abuse, and using child in pornographic material, playing sexualized games, stalking or following the child continuously. All these are non-physical contact offences. In these offences, there will be no physical contact.
Okay.
So these two are basically two types of offences. under POCSO Act. So when it comes to physical contact offences, the penetrative sexual assault, this is a very serious offence.
Okay, ma'am.
That means any amount of penetration, any form of penetration, not only penetrating the penis of the offender into vagina or anus or urethra of the victim child, even applying mouth to those parts is also constitutes an offence of a penetrative sexual assault. So even penetrating any object into the private parts of the victim child is also an offence. And under POCSO Act, for the penetrative sexual assault, the punishments are also very stringent. Initially, penetrative sexual assault, the punishment for penetrative sexual assault was 7 years. Recently, amendment came into force in August 2019. And as per amendment, now the penetrative sexual assault is punishable with a minimum punishment of 10 years.
Okay.
And which may extend to life.
Okay, so the minimum punishment itself is 10 years.
Yes. Okay. Not less than 10 years. And if the penetrative sexual assault is committed on a child who is below the age of 16 years, then the punishment is not less than 20 years, and which may extend to life imprisonment.
Okay. So there's a very strict law against it.
The rest of natural life of that person.
Okay. So it can be from 20 years until all his life.
And when penetrative sexual assault is committed on a child who is below 12 years, or on a child who is pregnant, or on a child who is mentally incapable, or by a police officer, or by a member of armed forces, or a relative of the child, or in any institution, that is treated as aggravated penetrative sexual assault.
Okay.
Or by committing that penetrative sexual assault, if the victim child becomes pregnant, all these offences are treated as aggravated penetrative sexual assault, and the punishment for aggravated penetrative sexual assault as per the amendment is not less than 20 years, and it may extend to life imprisonment and may also to death also.
Okay.
So death punishment is added
in aggravated aggravated penetrating sexual assault.
Yes.
Okay.
Then comes sexual assault. Sexual assault means touching the body parts of the victim child with sexual intent, but without penetration. This is the difference between sexual assault and penetrative sexual assault. In sexual assault, there will be no penetration.
True, ma'am. Okay. So there is a whole section of sexual assaults which are non-penetrative.
Yes.
So any touch which includes a sexual intent can comes under this particular.
Yes. Any touching of any body part with sexual intent.
So that could include hands or head or
any part of the body. Any part of the body. It is not touching private parts of the victim. Any part of the body, touching any part.
Okay.
It is termed as sexual assault. And same, if there's a sexual assault is committed on a victim child below 12 years, or same as we discussed in aggravated penetrative sexual assault. Under the said circumstances, this is called as aggravated sexual assault.
Okay.
So these are physical contact offences.
Ma'am, and how is the punishment under sexual assault?
Yeah, sexual assault and amendment. After amendment, sexual assault is also punishable with earlier it was punishable with Sexual assault is punishable with not less than 3 years and which may extend to 5 years. And aggravated penetrative sexual assault is punishable with 5 years and which may extend to 7 years.
Okay. So, what is the punishment range in non-contact offences, ma'am, under the POCSO Act?
Come again, Vishnu?
What is the punishment, what is the sentencing duration in non-contact sexual offences, ma'am?
Non-contact sexual assault.
Yes, ma'am. Not sexual assault, ma'am, like cyberbullying or towards
I'm coming to those
these things.
issues. When coming to non-physical contact offences, like using the child in pornographic material, or stalking the child, or making gestures, or making sexual advances, all this comes under non-physical contact. Under this provision, the latest amendment says prescribes the punishment which shall not be less than 5 years, and if for subsequent offense, subsequent conviction, it shall not be less than 7 years.
Okay. So
where a person uses child or children for pornographic purposes. So this is the punishment. And where any person who stores or possesses pornographic material in any form involving the child, but fails to delete or destroy or report the same to the designated officers, then the punishment is not less than 5,000 rupees. There is no punishment; it is only fine.
Okay.
And on subsequent offence, the fine is up to 10,000 rupees, not less than 10,000 rupees.
Okay. Okay. So, ma'am, so again, excuse me if this is if it's possible, ma'am. Can you give us a couple of examples that you have dealt with previously? I mean, if this is possible, if
and we will come to that later.
Sure, ma'am, no problem. So, ma'am, can you? So you told us this is a gender neutral act. So even a trans child, if he's subjected to sexual abuse, will they be considered? Is there any special provision for them, ma'am, or do they come under this particular act itself?
No, as of now, there is no any special act to deal with transgender children.
Okay, ma'am.
The bill is yet to be passed.
Okay.
Bill is pending. But if a child is a transgender child, then if any offence, a sexual offence is committed on such child, definitely a complaint can be lodged under POCSO Act. Because POCSO Act, the definition of POCSO Act itself speaks that any person. It do not mention any gender.
Right.
So we can take it like that.
Okay.
Any person who is under the age of 18 years.
Okay. Irrespective of being male or female.
Obviously, a transgender child also
comes under that definition.
Under POCSO Act.
Okay. Okay.
So,
yes.
And one more important aspect in this act is presumption, Vaishnu. Section 29 of POCSO Act speaks about presumption. What it says is, the court shall, when any offence is committed, any sexual offence is committed on a child, court shall presume that such person has committed or abetted or attempted to commit such offence. And it shall presume that the person committed that offence. And it is for that person to rebut that presumption. He has to prove. And Section 30 speaks about the culpable mental state of that person. What it says is, the court shall presume the existence of culpable mental state of the person to commit that offence. That means the court shall presume that the person has that mental state, sexual intent to commit that offence. And it is for that offender to prove that he has no sexual intent.
Okay.
Yeah, that means he has to, for example, in case of sexual assault, if a person holds the hand of a child and pulls towards him in order to um, pamper him or so, it happens generally. But if the child feels any discomfort and if the child feels that something abnormal happened to her or him, and if a complaint is lodged in that regard, this offender has to prove that he has no sexual intent in touching that child.
Okay. So it is
So
his duty to prove that he had no intent. If not,
yes,
it like the intent can be presumed in that situation.
yes, intention shall be
Okay.
presumed, and
Okay.
it is to that offender to prove that he has no sexual intent.
Okay. Okay.
So this
Nice.
is one aspect under this act.
So, by what I understand about the act, ma'am, it is very strict and very. It has a very severe punishment as well. And coming towards this, ma'am. So, I have another question. So, is there any compensation for the victims in this, ma'am? Like once they are abused, like.
Courts can grant interim compensation during the trial procedure
Mhm.
for the victims, and even state governments also granting compensation for the rape victims,
Okay.
the victims of penetrative sexual assault. And
Mm-hmm.
in our state of Telangana, I think rupees 25,000 is being granted as the initial compensation at the time of registering FIR,
Mm-hmm.
and another 25,000 rupees at the time of after filing charge sheet,
Okay.
and the remaining amount basing on the intensity of the offense and the mental and physical agony suffered by the victim. The remaining amount will be granted after completion of the case,
Okay.
after
So, ma'am, is
disposal
there
of.
any fine on behalf of accused as well, ma'am?
Yes, after completion of the trial
Mm-hmm.
and while pronouncing judgment, if the
Mm-hmm.
accused is convicted, courts can grant compensation. Courts can impose fine to the accused, and from the fine amount, compensation can be granted to the victim.
Okay.
So that has to be paid by the accused.
Okay, ma'am. And ma'am, coming towards the most relevant section of this webinar, which is something I guess all the medical students here can relate to. So, what is the role of doctors towards prevention of such offences, ma'am?
Yeah. Coming to that topic, Vishnu, I just want to add one thing.
Yes,
When
yes,
any of sexual assault or sexual offense is committed on any child,
yes, ma'am.
um, uh, complaint can be lodged by any person.
Mm-hmm.
This is, I think, very important to know, because people think the family members of the victim must file a complaint,
Okay.
but it is not that. In the case of sexual assault cases, any person, he may be a stranger to that victim,
Mm-hmm. He could
uh,
still lodge a complaint.
still lodge a complaint. If any person suspects that any offense is going to happen, then
Mm.
also he can inform the police about uh, the incident or his suspicion
Okay.
about the happening of any offense. So it is not that only parents, family members, or relatives of the victim child has to lodge complaint. Any third person, any stranger can lodge a complaint.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
So, I guess as society,
Now,
we can play a major role in this.
yeah. Now coming to the role of doctors.
Yes, ma'am.
Doctors play a very important role, not only in the cases of POCSO offences, but in general also, all other offences also. The doctors play a very important role, and their report matters a lot. Sometimes the medical report issued by a doctor changes the fate of the case. So doctors, when coming to the POCSO cases, I think doctors should be sensitized towards the child victims, because all the children are tender aged children in these cases. So when they come to, when any offense is committed on any child and the child was brought to the hospital for medical examination, doctors should immediately examine them without making them wait for longer time.
Okay.
Because when a child who is a victim of penetrative sexual assault or any sexual abuse, such a child should be treated with more care and caution. And a child, especially aged between 4 to 10 years, 4 to 12 years, may not explain every minute detail of the act happened to him or her. And by the time she was brought for medical examination, the child might be under trauma. There might be injuries. The child may suffer bleeding injuries or any other sort of other kind of injuries, and they may not be able. They may not be in a position to explain each and every detail what happened to her. So at that time, it is the responsibility of the doctors to examine them carefully. Doctors should examine them as to as if children do not know what to say and what not to say. If we take any child to hospital, they think that doctor will examine them and give some medicines, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And the child do not know that child has to tell the pains she suffered or where she is feeling itching or something like that. They may not know. It is the responsibility of the doctor to examine the child in all aspects, as to whether there is any complaint of pain or itching in genital areas. Is there any difficulty in walking or difficulty in sitting, or pain during urination or defecation? All these questions has to be put by doctors, or else child may not know to tell all these things. Even if she
Okay.
suffers itching in her genital part, she may not be able to disclose the same. She don't know that she has to tell that. The child may think that doctor will examine and she comes to know everything.
Okay.
Because a tender aged child do not know anything about their body.
True, ma'am. True.
So
It's
and
the duty of doctors to
yes,
get the accurate history, and especially
yes,
about the pain, about
and
bleeding.
doctors
Everything.
should analyze the mental capacity, mental status of the child also at the time of examination,
Okay.
whether they are normal, or they are behaving any there is any abnormality, or they need any counseling, or they need any psychological treatment. All these doctors can observe all these things, and they have to educate the child, or if possible they can counsel the child also at the time of medical examination, because by the time child comes to the court, it will be months or years also. So doctor is the right person to help the child at the right time.
Okay, ma'am.
And while issuing medical reports also, medical report also plays an important role in many cases. So medical reports also are to be issued very carefully. They should note each and every detail of their medical examination, date of the examination, time of examination, condition of the victim, age of the victim, and after conducting total body examination, you say from head to toe,
Yes, ma'am.
each
We call
and
it
every
physical examination.
injury on the body parts of the victim child should be recorded. Every injury, whether it is
Even the old
old
ones, ma'am.
or fresh.
Okay.
If it is old injury, mention the same. but record the injury, but note down the injury.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 2 months old or 3 months old or 1 year old injury. So mention the injury, whether it is old or fresh. If fresh injury, mention nature of injury, size of injury.
Mm-hmm.
Every detail matters in the medical report.
Okay.
These points must be taken care of the doctors, taken care of by doctors. And in the case of POCSO offences, any doctor to whom the victim child is brought has to examine the victim.
So
it is not that, yes.
So is it that not just the government doctors, any doctor
No,
can report?
it's not that only government doctor has to examine. Any doctor who is a registered medical practitioner and registered in Medical Council of India, that doctor has to examine the victim child.
Right. Okay.
It is not that private doctor cannot examine and everything has to be done by a government doctor.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
So any doctor can examine the victim child.
Yes, ma'am. So I
And
have
in
another
case
question.
of POCSO offences, if the victim is a girl child, then the examination must be done by a woman doctor.
Okay.
And for medical examination, to conduct medical examination, there is no need of complaint or FIR.
Okay.
Sometimes it may happen that a child, some sexual assault was committed on that child. Parents may not know that it is a sexual assault, so they directly bring the child to hospital.
Okay.
Then in such cases, there will be no complaint or no FIR. Even the doctor feels it that the case is a medico-legal case and it might be a case of rape or so, but still doctor has to examine the victim.
Okay.
And consent of taking the consent of mother or any other person or any guardian who accompanies the child.
Okay.
Is very much important. Before conducting medical examination of a child, obtaining the consent of mother is important.
Okay.
If mother will not give her consent, then medical examination cannot be conducted.
So if the guardian doesn't give the consent, so ma'am, what if the guardian himself or herself is the abuser in this situation, and we notice a certain hint, like the child is scared or something? So how should we act in that situation?
No, in such situation also no medical examination can be conducted.
But can we say
the other has to consent for the medical examination of the victim child.
Okay.
Right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So can we still?
One more important thing. Next important thing is in case of penetrative sexual assault. That is when it comes to Indian Penal Code, it is mentioned as rape.
Yes, ma'am.
In such cases, you know very well 2-finger test is banned.
Yes, ma'am.
To know whether the hymen of the girl is child is intact or not. In such cases, ultrasounds can be done.
Okay.
But even now, as the format contains that all these details, doctors are reporting about the 2-finger test.
Yes, 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 ma'am.
So when it is banned, the test is not allowed.
It's not needed to do. Yes, ma'am. True.
Yes, and you have other procedures to proceed with. Ultrasound scan is there.
True, ma'am. True.
So in all the hospitals there is the provision for ultrasound scan. So you refer the victim child to for ultrasound scan and report the same.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
This one is an important aspect to be noted.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, and one more important thing is the usage of terminology. When we
Yes, ma'am.
see many of the medical reports, doctors, after conducting medical examination of the child, they mention injuries, sometimes nature of injuries and everything. And after receiving FSL report, they
Mm-hmm.
issue final opinion stating that there is nothing to the sexual assault cannot be ruled out.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to POCSO Act, the meaning of sexual assault is totally different. As we discussed earlier,
Yes, ma'am.
what is sexual assault? It is nothing but touching the body parts of the victim girl without penetration and with sexual intent.
Mm-hmm. So it does
So
not need to be a penetrative assault.
no one can say whether sexual assault um, occurred or not,
Mm-hmm.
unless there are any injuries on the body parts of the victim, like scratch
Okay.
marks or nail scratchings or something like that.
Okay. Okay, ma'am.
Right? In rape cases, in penetrative sexual assault cases, the word penetrative sexual assault cannot be ruled out.
It has to be mentioned in very specific. Penetrative sexual assault cannot
Yes,
be ruled out.
sexual
True.
assault.
Okay.
That is to be noted
Mm-hmm. So
because these
first,
two are two different offenses.
yes, yes, ma'am.
Though both comes under physical contact, but one is with penetration, one is without penetration.
Yes, ma'am.
So this difference has to be noted.
Yes, ma'am.
And similarly, while examining the victim boy, if
Mm-hmm.
the victim is a boy, they mention about the examination of anus,
Mm-hmm.
injuries on his anus,
Mm-hmm.
buttocks, all his private parts,
Mm-hmm.
or his scrotum, and all the parts, and all the injuries has to be mentioned, and size of injuries,
Mm-hmm.
age of injuries. These three are very important.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And even a victim is boy also, the
Hmm.
examination has to be conducted at the earliest.
Okay.
So we do not re-victimize the child by making them wait in the hospitals hours together or days together.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
So doctors must give priority to the victims of to child victims,
I agree, ma'am.
because already they will be under trauma. They don't know what happened to her, why they were brought to hospital, what is their physical condition, and
Yes, ma'am.
in
Yes,
that circumstances, we should not re-victimize them.
yes, ma'am.
Like, and when it comes to the examination of offender or
Mm-hmm.
accused,
Mm-hmm.
uh, generally accused will be sent for potency test.
Yes, ma'am.
It is a general terminology, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And potency certificates will be issued after examining the accused.
Yes, ma'am.
But potency or being potent is different from having capability of performing sexual act. Is that
Yes,
right,
ma'am.
Vishnu?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
A person may be capable of performing sexual intercourse, act of sexual intercourse, but he
Yes,
may
ma'am.
not be potent.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. He might not
So,
have the ability to
yes, to reproduce.
ejaculate or to produce sperms, but he could
Yes,
still do a penetrative assault. He could even do
yes.
manual assault, or he could use his penis towards the assault. Yes, ma'am.
So, in rape cases, we need the information whether that accused or offender is capable of performing the act of sexual intercourse.
Mm-hmm.
That report has to be given.
Yes,
Whether
ma'am.
he is potent or not, it can be decided later in cases where the victim girl is pregnant, becomes pregnant,
Yes, ma'am.
and followed by DNA report.
Mm-hmm.
So this one also is very important. Just issuing potency certificate or mentioning that the individual examined is potent
Mm-hmm.
may not help in all cases.
Mm-hmm.
So that is why I stress that medical reports are very important
True, ma'am.
to
Very true.
decide a case. So the role of doctor is equally important, and the evidence of doctor also plays a very key role, because doctor is no way related or connected with either a accused or the victim girl. So doctor
Yes,
is
ma'am.
an independent witness. So credibility will be given to his evidence and his medical report.
Mm-hmm.
So keeping in mind these they may appear to be a small issues, but
Mm-hmm.
they play important role in deciding the
Yes, ma'am.
cases. Times.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So, ma'am, coming towards this, so how often the victims are related to uh, abusers, ma'am?
In more than 90% of cases, the offenders are relatives, family
Mm-hmm.
members, neighbors, or known persons.
Yes, ma'am.
Only maybe in 10% of cases, the offenders are unknown persons to the victims.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
The more than 90% of cases, known persons are the offenders.
Mm-hmm. So, ma'am, what is the role of organizations like us, and what can we do towards preventing such offenses in the society, ma'am?
Um, Awareness, creating awareness.
Mm-hmm.
So, in spite of the special enactment, special courts, and stringent punishments, why the sexual offences are increasing day by day? Because there is no awareness
Mm-hmm.
about the act or anything relating to our body,
Yes, ma'am.
anything relating to the sexual things, right? The important thing is sensitization of children and parents towards sexual crimes is very much important,
Mm-hmm.
and it is very much required because children are more vulnerable
Mm-hmm.
and they have no power and they cannot report what happened to them.
Yes, ma'am.
It is also very important to teach children about the touching senses,
Yes, ma'am.
safe touch, unsafe touch, biological changes, and consequences. And they should know the touching of genital parts and about their body.
Mm-hmm.
They should know everything related to their body.
Yes, ma'am.
But many parents ignore the child's attempt to talk to them. In our culture, it is considered as a ఏమంటారమ్మో దీని గురించి మాట్లాడతామా.
Yes, ma'am. Stigma, huge stigma in taboo.
It is a social. They feel like it is a sin talking
Yes.
about sexual related issues.
Mm-hmm.
But in case of adults and children,
Mm-hmm.
the vulnerability increases as they are more curious,
Mm-hmm.
they are rebellious, and they are more enthusiastic.
True, ma'am.
Enthusiastic. They want to know yes, about the body anatomy or the biological changes and the sexual acts, everything.
Mm-hmm.
And when we stop them from questioning, or when we are not able to answer them or to explain them what is the nature and what is how the body reacts for the biological changes,
Mm-hmm.
they try to um, learn them or to explore them in other ways.
Mm-hmm.
And these days, everyone is having a mobile phone in the hand,
Yes, ma'am.
and everything is available in the phone.
True, ma'am. True.
So when we restrict them to know something, they
Mm-hmm.
will try to know the same from other sources.
Mm-hmm.
And they want to
Yes, ma'am.
try what is it. And at this stage, some of the minors are becoming abusers.
True. Okay.
They want to know what happens if he touches a girl, what
Hmm.
happens if he makes sexual advances to a girl.
Mm-hmm.
And if he commits any such act, he will become the abuser.
Mm-hmm.
Child conflict with law.
Hmm.
There are many number of cases reporting these days. in which the abusers are minors.
Okay.
And when an abuser is between 16 to 18 years,
Mm-hmm.
if the minor abuser is the minor, juvenile board will deal with them.
Yes, ma'am.
Juvenile courts are there to deal with them. But
Mm-hmm.
the abuser is between 16 to 18 years, and the juvenile board feels that he is
Mm-hmm.
behaves like adult,
Mm-hmm.
and he has done that act with the full conscious and without the support or abetment of any other person,
Yes, ma'am.
and by studying, analyzing his mental condition, if they
Mm-hmm.
feel that that abuser, that minor, is has to be treated as an adult, then they will transfer the case to a child-friendly court to try him
Okay.
as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
So, in one way, somewhere we are also increasing the children to that areas.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So, in
So,
a very broad sense, maybe it is
yes,
safe to say that comprehensive sex education can decrease these kind of offenses.
yes, yes, and at the same time, kids can be groomed very easily.
Yes, ma'am.
They can be molded.
Yes, ma'am.
If in the right time we guide them in a right manner, in a proper way,
Mm-hmm.
then grooming the child is not a big task.
True, ma'am.
And it is very important that parents, teachers, any other responsible persons who are attached to any person, any child, to
Mm-hmm.
discuss the body and sex related issues openly with them, so that they will come to know which act is allowed and which act is not allowed.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Every child should know that,
Yes, ma'am.
and we should teach you should teach children to
Mm-hmm.
respect any person
Mm-hmm.
basing on his behavior, but not basing on his age or relationship or status or gender, like that.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
we need to
That's a
stress
very
on
beautiful
safe
point. Yes, ma'am.
and we need to stress on safe and unsafe behavior also.
Yes, ma'am.
We need to guide the children. We need to teach the children about the safe touch and unsafe touch.
Mm-hmm.
And one more thing is, generally people think that only male persons will be the offenders.
Yes,
It is
ma'am.
not that always a male person will be the offender. Even
Mm-hmm.
females also may be the offenders.
Yes, ma'am.
It is not that they cannot commit any sexual assault, penetrative
Mm-hmm.
sexual assault, because
Mm-hmm.
now we know the meaning of penetrative sexual assault.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
Which
Yes, ma'am.
the acts falling under penetrative sexual assault.
Yes, ma'am.
So a female can also be a offender,
Could be a
or
very possible offender, very potential offender as well.
she may be abettor. She may abet the offense.
Yes, ma'am.
So it is not that only male persons will be the offenders under this POCSO Act.
Yes, ma'am. So,
Similarly, not always a stranger will be the offender.
mm-hmm. It could be a
Like
known person.
discussed earlier, close associates are the offenders in more than 90% of the cases.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Like family member, neighbor, friend, or any known person, even teachers.
Mm-hmm.
So child should know that people they know also can cause harm to them.
Yes, ma'am.
So they should know the behavior of the person. They should be in that stage. They should be
Mm-hmm.
capable of analyzing the person.
Yes, ma'am. So we need to talk about, we need to open up and have more conversations on this. And
Yes.
so
So
on this note,
education
ma'am,
and sensitization of children is more important,
yes, ma'am.
and it
So
helps in protection of children from sexual abuse.
yes, ma'am. I agree with this, and I think coming towards the end of the session, I have a last question for today, ma'am, for you. And
Yes.
so, how do you think the reporting of these cases was from since past 10 years ago? How was the reporting, and how is the situation today? So, do you think, are we as a society, are we moving towards possibly preventing these kind of things?
Yes, reporting of cases increased when compared to past few years after the special enactment and after establishing special courts.
Mm-hmm.
Reporting of offences definitely increased,
Yes, ma'am.
but there are many number of offences which are not being reported.
Yes, ma'am.
This is because of a lack of awareness. We should conduct awareness camps, and we should make the people know about the safety measures taken by the courts while dealing with these cases, about the compensation issues,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
awareness brings a lot of change.
I agree, ma'am. Totally agree
And
with you.
conducting awareness camps and creating awareness to public with regard to hygiene, health, and all body related issues.
Mm-hmm.
Just like your Bleed with Pride organization is doing, creating awareness about menstrual hygiene
Yes, ma'am.
it is not that easy task to create awareness with regard to such issues.
Yes,
No
ma'am.
one will come forward to discuss such issues,
Yes,
but
ma'am.
all issues relating to body and health has to be discussed.
I agree, ma'am.
And, your organization is bold enough to take up such issues.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And I can assure you one thing. So, by in the next 1 week, we'll be working more upon specifically upon sexual abuse and its psychology, and we'll be launching another training module for medical students to better to equip them as better doctors to deal with these in reporting, and also to make them better humans to understand these kind of abuses and to take a step towards a preventive and a safer society.
And doctors are the right persons to create awareness with regard to the health and hygiene.
I agree, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Conducting awareness camps in schools, colleges, and especially in slums, because
Mm-hmm.
in slum areas people do not know what is hygiene or what is health. So we
Yes,
have
ma'am.
to educate people with regard to health and hygiene, with regard to the matters related to sex or sexual issues.
Yes, ma'am.
Doctors play a vital role to achieve the goal. Conducting this type of webinars is also one such creative and committed step.
Thank you,
I think.
ma'am. Thank you so much. And
So all shall join hands to curb the social evil.
sure, ma'am, we will. And hope to work a lot with you. It was a very informative session for us, ma'am. And before we conclude, I'd like to invite Vijaya to give a vote of thanks for today, ma'am.
Thank you, Vishnu. Good evening, ma'am. Honorable Judge SUNEETHA. It's an honor to know you and share this platform with you. I am Vijaya, founding president of SIMSA. Firstly, happy Teachers' Day. Thank you again. We, SIMSA and Bleed with Pride, truly appreciate you for willing to give your time and experiences to enrich us medical students with such an incredible approach to POCSO. I personally appreciate your insights. And firstly, I want to highlight the most important point of today's discussion was that any person can file the complaint, right? Any
Yes.
person, even if he or she is not personally related to the victim. And as a doctor, I learned that today any doctor, any registered licensed doctor can examine and write medical reports regarding this. We need not
Yes.
this interesting point for it. And other thing was our role as doctors. We better understand our responsibility, the sensitivity of the case, and will have a better approach to the child abuse cases. And like we understand the sensitivity with medical reports, their importance. We are honored and responsible for the child at right time, like you said.
Thank
We
you. I wish you all the very best to all the participant doctors and hope that you all move forward with commitment and to achieve the goals. And
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. And again,
thank
ma'am, we thank
we want to
Telangana
thank
High
the
Court.
High Court of Telangana, Telangana Judiciary, and you, Honorable Judge SUNEETHA KUNCHALA garu, for your contributions. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Vishnu, for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, ma'am. And thanks a lot for being here with us today.
Thank you.